And
Are we starting?
yeah.
Hello and welcome to A Gypsy's Kiss. I'm Shelley Carney.
And I'm Toby Younis. Thanks for joining us tonight. We're going to have a very different show tonight. We're going to pay our tribute to our good friend, ForrestFenn. Stay with us. So, like I said, this is going to be a different night. We're going to cover several different things that we want to get accomplished. And as I said, it's our way of paying our tribute to our friend, ForrestFenn. And it's, I guess, our personal wake. And you're welcome to join us. There won't be any prize giveaways. There's no comment on this video. We'll have to hold that off till next week. This is something we wanted to accomplish. Okay?
Yeah.
You ready for this?
Let's do it.
All right. So first things first, I received it started with some text messages this morning, and then I spoke with Jens Esser, who you know as a documentarian. And Jens told me that he was putting together a short tribute video that he wanted us to share if he got it in time. We received the video about 15 minutes ago, and it's just beautiful. And Jens asked me to read this before.
So this is from Jens Esser. My deepest condolences to Forrest's family and loved ones, as well as the thousands of searchers who mourn his loss. I am deeply saddened about his passing. I admired him as the creator of the chase, even more so as an inspiring personality and role model. This tribute video is dedicated to Forrest's legacy. The documentary about Forrest and the chase is yet to come. Stay tuned. Jens Esser.
So Jens, thank you very much. I'm going to switch over to screenshot, and I'm going to share Jens' video with you guys, all right?
I hid the treasure chest and I invited everybody to go look for it. That, as far as I'm concerned, I'm a bystander now. I'm standing on the sidelines watching people have a good time looking for the treasure, and that's my reward. I'm a maverick, you know, writers always call me eccentric. And when I first read that, I said, why do they think I'm eccentric? And then after a while I said, yeah, they're right, I am eccentric, I am different. I spend a lot of time thinking. When I read something on the internet that I don't like, I go out and water my trees. I missed 1939, but before that I spent all of my summers in Yellowstone, 3 months, and it was a big part of my life. I love the forest, I love the Rocky Mountains, I love the streams and the animals and the smells and the flowers, and I didn't have that in Texas. One of the things that I used to do when I was a kid, I hiked a lot into rivers and lakes, a place to fish, but just for the sake of hiking. And when I would come to a kind of a remote place, I would move over under a tree by a bluff or something and sit down and tell myself that I'm the first human being that was ever in this spot. It's probably true. that's a thrill to me. That's the thrill of the chase to me. I mean, I'm the only person that ever sat in this spot. I think that's great. I mean, I love that kind of stuff. Well, I'm very pleased with what I've left. But you know, if you ask me if I would do it all over again, I would say no. I'd keep my wife, but then I'd change everything. Well, I'd do the same thing over again. I mean, I've had a good life. I was a terrible student in school. I didn't go to college, but I had a really good military career. I had a good business career. I've written 11 books. I've excavated an Indian ruin, and I've run out of encores. Don't mess with my plum.
All right. We thought we'd take just a moment and read a page from The Thrill of the Chase. Chapter is Flywater, page 125. Those great places, which were personal secrets to me then, are now busy with the flourish of fishermen and women who cast a midge or floating caddis upon those same waters, never knowing I had been there, or even caring yes or no. I always thought that space was mine alone, and many of the memories are even now still so personal that they exclude the intrusion of strangers. How dare they go there? But I know that as the seasons slowly change and the leaves of life fall and are reborn anew, so do the names of those who wade those waters and chalk the memories once again, this time for themselves. I hope they feel the reverence that I once did and now still do. How special those hours were spent watching the waters deepen into cobalt as the flow slowly bent around a bank, or the ripples swirl as a brookie took an unsuspecting mayfly. Many others who have loved those waters before and after me understand that catching fish is not what it's about. It's the being there, in the tranquility and silence of oneself, or within the gentle call of a friend when he hooks a nice one, or tells you of the moose and calf that just came out of the pines to feed on the water grasses downstream. The book now occupies a different shelf, closer to my view, for it holds some memories most dear and makes me know that moments such as those are fleet of foot indeed, and calls to make them all the more. It is well said that God subtracts from the allotted time of man those hours spent fishing. And when my tackle box is closed at last and the caddis hatch is gone, I will rest through all of time and space, pillowed down and scented in, with a smile that comes from remembering the special things that brought me to that final place. One of which was knowing Peggy was there somewhere, waiting for me. Not may be able to get through this.
So, one of the ways we wanted to pay our respects to Forrest was by sharing with you all some of the images that we've collected over the years at various events. And I'm going to do the same thing that I did with this. I'm going to take our image off the screen so that you guys can see everything, and let you enjoy the images. And what I've done is I've done them in order of when we captured the event. They go back to 2013, my first visit with Forrest at Collected Works. Actually, Shelley and I had met him in August of 2013 at an event.
At the end of Loretto.
End of Loretto, and I remember him wanting to take a picture with Shelley after he signed our books, and I got the shot. It was the only one I couldn't find today. It was just such a cute picture of him being himself. But I'm going to switch over now to these, and eventually I will add these albums in links to the description box below. So if you see yourself in any of these images, and I'm going to go through them quickly because there are a lot of them. But if you see yourself in in some of these images, come back. Look at the description box and you'll see links to the albums, and you're welcome to download those images in which you find yourself, or any other images of Forrest at the various events. All right? So we're going to start with, let me do the transition here to screenshot. All right, and these are the albums, and we're going to start, as you see, I've labeled them from ForrestFenn Collected Works from 2013 all the way to ForrestFenn at Fenbori 2019. And there's a lot of photos. There's 120 photos, and I'm going to go through every one of them. That's going to be our show tonight. I wanted to share these with you. And we feel like it's our wake, you know. So the second contact that I had with ForrestFenn was at Collected Works, and this was in October of 2013, and he was there with his good friends Douglas Preston and Michael McGarity, and unfortunately, because I got there late, I was placed in a location that put Michael behind that speaker, and so he never got in the shot. And Forrest was he was his amazing self that night, right on. There was lots of searchers that I didn't know at the time. I didn't know or recognize there, and he was pithy, I guess is the best way to describe it. Let me share the shot with you. So that's the shot I got. That was the video shot that I got all night with poor Michael McGarity behind that huge speaker, but that was the best place. And all these videos are on our channel. All you have to do is look them up by the various dates and the names. After the program, Forrest did what he normally did in one of these programs. He started visiting with people. And as I said, I don't know everyone here. I just was trying to take as many shots as I could. So if you recognize yourself, please feel free to come back and look in the description box below, and I'll put the links to these albums, and you can take a look at them. So we're going to go through these quickly. He was always open to having somebody take a picture with him. I never saw him turn anybody. Oh, look, there's Gadelcon. That's Eugene Tellis. So, and it's funny, like I said, I didn't know anyone at this time. It was the first event that I had been to. This was Stephanie 30 Acre. And I remember Fenn making fun of the fact that she used to go boots on the ground with her flip-flops. He used to call them flip-flops on the ground. And this was her friend. She had come with her from Chicago, and she was searching her. In the back, you can see David Rice. He was always at these events. And if you hear the video, you'll hear that he asks a couple of questions. So let me go back to the next album, which was the event at Moby Dickens in Taos, New Mexico. And this was my setup. I was actually boots on the ground in northern New Mexico, and I always had my equipment with me. And I heard through the grapevine that he was going to be doing this book signing at Moby Dickens. This was the second level. This was the upstairs level. And this chair that he called his throne was actually sitting back here. It was part of the furnishings, part of the decorations. And that M.C. Escher book was sitting on it. And I moved the book so that I could get him to sit down. Thankfully, I had my wireless Sennheiser wireless microphones with me, so there was no wires in between. And it was a pretty good crowd. About half of them were searchers, half of them just new to the books, and he was feeling pretty good. This was, I like to say, if you watch this video, it was 2013, where he still hadn't started building up his defenses. This lady here was one of the employees at Moby Dickens, and this was, I just forgot his name, Jay. one of the owners. He and his wife Carolyn owned the bookstore. And then after, this is before actually, you'll hear him mention this lady's name. Her name was Macy. And he mentions her name because she asks a question. And he tries to remember her name because he had sat there and talked with her for a long time before the program started. Once the program started, he got busy with telling his stories. You've seen it in the Moby Dickens video. And eventually he gets around to answering questions. At some point, you're going to hear, at several times, you're going to hear a very loud female laugh. We're going to see her in just a minute. Female laugh. You'll hear her laugh out loud, and to the extent that people actually make comments about it on the video. It was this woman. She was big and kind of big voiced. So every time she laughed, it came through. And then afterwards, he again takes pictures with fans there. He addresses this little girl. She has a question. She has a theory for him. And he's very attentive to her. Tells her that he tells her her dad, oh, she's dangerous, in the sense that she's going to get this all figured out. He stayed with her for a little bit, and he just charms them. He just did that with everyone. Very patient. This was the article in True West magazine, and she wanted him to autograph it for him. And he was really surprised that she was aware. He was surprised that she would be aware that he had that article about him in True West. This is Jay. This was a really bad shot. It was poorly lit, and so there was a little bit of motion, but that's Jay with Forrest. And that's Carolyn. That's his wife in the back, looking kind of angry. I don't know why she is Dorothy, who runs Collected Works. And the deal that they had was, since she owned all the Thrill of the Chase books, she was actually selling them at a discount and had brought a couple of boxes with her to Jay and Carolyn there at Moby Dickens. And he was actually signing the book. You can see right here. He was signing the book for Carolyn's father, who wanted a copy. That's, again, Forrest and Dorothy and Jay and one of his employees. And that's the first time I asked him to take a shot with me. He actually didn't know. He knew I was recording, but he didn't recognize me from Collected Works. So as I was putting my gear away, he came over and he started talking to me and asked me what I was doing and whether I was a searcher, et cetera, et cetera. And I asked him if he would take the time to take a picture. And of course, he always had time for that. Then the next event. So this event was the event that Dale put together on behalf of Forrest. And it was for this woman, and her name was Renelle Jacobson. And Renelle, I got to know her. I actually interviewed her. You can hear an interview. You can actually hear the interview in the early part of our channel. But she and I talked during the event, and she was about to go on her weekly doctor's visit. She sent me this photo. She was a flight attendant, but had been diagnosed with cancer, and it was stage 4. It was a very difficult time. She eventually didn't make it, but in the process, Forrest decided to have a raffle drawing for her, and what they were going to raffle off was one of his bronze jars filled with artifacts from San Lazaro. And this is where our relationship got kind of interesting, because he remembered me from, I had given him a business card. Actually, it wasn't a business card. It was just a card with my name, phone number, and email address. And he remembered me, and he said he was having this event, and if I would come and record it. And I said I'd be happy to. No expectation of compensation or anything. He asked, so I do it. A couple of days later, he called and he said, could you live stream the event? And I said, Forrest, the last time I did any live streaming was in Washington, D.C. And at the time, it required a truckload of equipment and, 10 or 12 employees, 10 or 12 support crew. And he said, well, see what you can do. I'd like to live stream it. So I checked into it. And in the intervening 4 years since I had done it last, actually it was more like 5 because I think it was 2009 when I did the last one. The truckload of equipment had been reduced to a little red box about the size of a pack of cigarettes. And so I called him back and I told him, and he said, how much does it cost? And I told him, and he said he'd pay for it. And I said, are you sure? And he said yes, that he was sure. And so he paid for it, and we ended up, this was the first live streaming event that I did, and effectively took me away from the search. And I'll finish that story when I get to the end of these pictures. But if you can see this part of this image right there, it's a little plastic vial, and it's labeled goat, G-O-A-T. It turned out that it was petrified goat poop. And he had collected it at San Lazaro, and he had put it in that jar, and he had made it part of the giveaway. So I wanted to see the inside of the jar, so I asked him if I could see it. And as you can see here back then. So this is Forrest's granddaughter, and I always forget her name. Mika, yeah. And she remembers me every time she sees me, and but she's you can tell I don't know that he has any children that are favorites, any grandchildren that are favorites. He seems to love them all equally. And this is his daughter, and I don't know if it's Zoe or Kelly. They look so much alike to me that I don't know the difference, and I haven't spent that much time with them. So let me see if you can see that red box. There's my rig. I don't see if you can see the little red box that I was talking about. But we live streamed it. So this is Mika and Shiloh's dad. Mr. I don't know his first name either, but he's the Old family, O-L-D family. So it's Mika Old and Shiloh Old. This is their dad, and he's married to that woman there. So they have property in Pecos. And I had a chance, so his guest, he invited Allie McGraw, who's a resident of Santa Fe, to join him in this event. And she and I were talking, and I heard her mispronounce Dale's name. And I said, he's going to be watching. And she said, well, tell me how to pronounce it. And I explained to her how to pronounce it and why it was that way. And she gave me a hug for it. So I had my daughter, who was my production assistant for this event.
So apparently that was Zoe, and the man's name is David Old.
Okay. That's right, David. That's right.
Thank you.
So we started the event. I was coaching them on what to do, kind of where to speak, and what we needed to do to make this right. You can see the tickets, the raffle tickets were down here in a bowl, and it was up to Allie to select the right one. This necklace that she's wearing, it was Fenn's gift to her, and he had actually assembled it from artifacts at San Lazaro and given it to her as a gift. And it was a beautiful, beautiful handmade necklace. And you could tell he really enjoyed presenting it to her. He gave it to her that day. There's a better picture of it. So it had all of these are artifacts from San Lazaro. And then, of course, Dorothy wanted to make introductions, and we recorded her in the shot. She was always part of these things. Dorothy is funny because sometimes she seems to be really angry about things, but once you get to know her, she's okay. Now, at some point, as I mentioned, my daughter Sean was there as production assistant, and I can tell that this is one of her shots because she loves that low angle shot. I can always tell when there's something and I'm shooting, and because by this point we're live streaming, but if I see a low angle, I know it's Sean taking the shot. So this I cut directly from the video itself. And again, you'll see this video on our YouTube channel. There's actually 2 of them from that day because I recorded the event. And then afterwards, I went up and I asked Forrest if he would stay long enough for an interview. And he did a very nice interview that day. So that was the setup. And there were people there. David Rice was there for the event. And his friend that was an archaeologist from the University of Colorado, if I remember correctly, was the one that wanted. This is a letter from Raynell. She wrote and asked it to have it read before we started the drawing, and she read it. And this was the point at which Allie bent over and she started poking through these things, and she found the little plastic vial full of petrified goat poop, and she held it up and she goes, she holds it up to Finn and she says, "What's this?" And he says, "Goat poop." And she drops it back into the thing. And he says, no, it's petrified. It can't hurt you. It was really cute. It was a cute moment between them. That's my daughter, Sean. And of course, as I said, she was with me that day acting as production assistant and second photographer. So she knows all this stuff in the way that all my children know how to be a production assistant. So this is the three of them. I got this shot as well. And again, you can see that beautiful necklace that he gave her. And this is me. I was trying to sneak in my last shot. I used to tease him, if I don't get this shot, people are going to think that you don't like me. So I tease him and kind of con him into the shot each time. So, all right. So then the next one. So I want Shelley to tell you how we got this little thing. So you tell how. So right after that, I took that little red box, and I at my 65th birthday was a few days later, and you guys have seen some of the pictures from that birthday. And I decided to start a business called Streaming New Mexico, and I asked several people who were in attendance at my birthday. They thought we were just going to have a birthday party, and I stopped in the middle of the birthday party, and I told them I was starting a new business, and I invited several people to join me in Streaming New Mexico. So from 2014 to 2016, we ran Streaming New Mexico, doing live streams all over the state in all kinds of locations, having a lot of fun, making money, and doing a really good job. And then I got to the point where I had to either do one of two things: sell the business or put another 100,000 into it to grow it. And by that time I was 68, and I thought, no, it's really time to retire. So that was October of 2016. And then in January of 2017, after we had sold the business and settled everything, Shelley called me, and I'll let her pick up the story from there.
Okay. I guess I called you and told you that I was meditating, and it came to me that you needed to get back into the ForrestFenn treasure hunt. And at the same time, we were trying to make a decision about whether to do live streaming on Facebook or YouTube. And we decided to come up with a new YouTube channel focused on the ForrestFenn hunt. At that point in time, we visited with Forrest in his home, and he showed us this bag of chewed up money and explained to us that his dog had been left alone with a pile of money, and he got into it and chewed it all up. And they'd spent years, they washed it in laundry and spent years trying to put it back together and never could. And it was, what, $1,100 or something? $1,500 and worth of money, but they couldn't find all the pieces and get it all back together again. So he decided to raffle it off as a prize, and the raffle proceeds would go to the Santa Fe Children's Museum. And he asked if we would live stream that for him.
Yeah. And so we did this event, and the idea was to raffle off, and I can't remember who handled the raffle. Was it Jessica? Mm-hmm. So this was Jessica, and Jessica was the director.
I think Dale had the setup of the raffle.
Oh, all right.
And he worked with them to
so Jessica
to make that happen.
Was the director of the Children's Museum, and she was just a good soul, just a very, very nice lady. By this time, we had reduced, the size of our kit. I mean, our live streaming kit was down to, what you see on that handle right there. And we were discussing shot. Of course, now I had my partner with me to act as the interviewer, and I could have her do the interviews and worry about the camera work and lighting and all those other things. So before the event got started, we started doing interviews. Shelley was doing interviews first with Jessica. And the reason Jessica eventually became more important in Forrest's life because she ended up, I don't know whether she left the museum first, but she ended up editing Once Upon a While for him. And I don't know if you guys remember, he used to talk about a chapter that had been eliminated that was actually put back into the second edition. She was the one that eliminated it, and he couldn't tell her no. He just went along with it. But then he put it back in the second edition. So that was Jessica. So we did interviews there. We interviewed one of the other folks that was on the board of directors of the Santa Fe Children's Museum. And then we got around to, these were the two kids that they had selected to help with a drawing. And I think they were brother and sister, right?
They're both boys.
Oh, that's right. Both boys, I forgot that. Yeah. And Cynthia was there as well. She actually did the drawing out of the hat. They put the tickets in Forrest's hat. Cynthia drew it, and then he was looking down the names on the list. And I think at some point he realized it was just too small, and he had to have you. You ended up.
I think he read it backwards or something, so
Right.
I read it a couple more times.
Right, to make sure.
To make sure.
And then he sat down for an interview with Shelley, which he always loved doing. He was really good with her. And she was always asking questions that weren't intrusive. She asked him about the raffle and about the Children's Museum and things that didn't go along. This is when Shelley was a redhead. And then he called Jessica over to answer a couple of the questions that he couldn't, and she did. We were using the Memo at the time. We had gone past the red box. So that's just the two of them together. And this is the point at which I no longer got to get photos with Fenn. He just wanted to do them with Shelley. And then this was the check that was given to the Santa Fe, well, it was, not the real check, but the raffle earned the Santa Fe Children's Museum $7,600. So it was, as usual, when he did something, it was in however you measured it, very successful. The next event was in May of 2017, and that was the screening of The Lure. And Thomas had asked us for some of our footage that he incorporated into the film. He had contacted us, and we asked him, okay, we'll do that if when you get here, you'll let us do an interview. So we recorded an interview with him, and the location for the screening was at the Santa Fe Center for Contemporary Arts. And it was just around the corner from the Santa Fe Children's Museum. So we went and asked the Santa Fe Children's Museum if they could provide us a space to host the interview. So we took our porta-kit. You'll see our lights, using those big Sony batteries to power them. Everything was portable, and everything fit in that wheelie thing right there. So we had gotten it down to a very compact. Shelley did the interview again. I recorded it. I was responsible for, the shot, lighting, and audio. Thomas, of course, being a director, was a real good interview, and we got a lot of information. You can find that video up there as well. So I'm very good about putting stuff in cases and labeling them. Clear cases, best invention ever. Nice shot of Shelley and Thomas together. The light that you see in the lower half of her eyes was actually sunlight that was coming in the back windows by this time, and it was reflecting off the floor, so give her that kind of lower light look. So when the event started, they showed the movie, and then after the movie, the normal thing to do is to interview the director. And this woman here, her name was Diana Taylor. She's a Emmy-winning or Golden Globe-winning, Oscar-winning documentary maker. And they had asked her to host the interview. And Forrest was sitting in the audience, and he was about 2 rows up. He was sitting next to Peggy and one of his daughters. And at some point, she had them bring another director's chair up onto stage, and she convinced him to come onto the stage and start. Oops, dadgummit. How did I get back there? Oh no. Okay, come onto the stage and start and take some questions. And at that point, we transitioned from a director's interview to a ForrestFenn interview. And of course, you'll see all those questions on our channel. Shelley and I were sitting in the audience. Shelley was shooting with her phone, and I was shooting with my with one of my Panasonic Lumix cameras. And so, I hadn't set up for this. I didn't have any audio, and so I looked on the walls, and there were speakers along the walls. And so I got out of the seat that I was in and just leaned against the wall, no tripod, no audio equipment, and I shot it handheld for the rest of the interview. And he wasn't happy about it. He wasn't happy to be up there. He didn't have his hearing aid in, so he was having trouble hearing the questions, et cetera, et cetera. And I don't think he's, to the best of my knowledge, he's never actually forgiven her for doing that. So let me see if I recognize anybody from the back of their heads here. I guess not.
I think,
so,
isn't that one of the writers? Is that
right there? Oh,
Preston?
Douglas Preston, yeah.
Thanks.
And he was up front, up in one of these rows here when she drug him out of the audience. So, David Rice, he was actually in the movie, as was, this is Katia Luce. She's been in this movie, and of course she was the one that was on Josh Gates on Expeditions Unknown. She was actually at the Moby Dickens event as well. She's the one that moved from Hawaii to Taos to look for Fenn's treasure. David Rice he's a cool and crazy guy. He's a ex-techie from Silicon Valley that gave it all up just to go, work on a ranch in near Abiquiu, actually. So
he wanted your old life?
He wanted my old life. So I don't know this gentleman's name, but he wanted to have a picture with Shelley.
He lives in Albuquerque.
He does?
Yeah.
All right.
I can't remember his name either.
There's Preston Douglas Preston in the background. See, this is where I don't get any more pictures with Forrest. Now they're all with Shelley from this point. This is Thomas and Forrest together. And then Shelley got some swag out of the event. So that was in May of 2017. And again, by this time, we had started the channel. And then the next event was the release of Once Upon a While. And we knew there was going to be events, so people got together at one of the restaurants in Santa Fe beforehand for lunch because there were a lot of searchers in town for that event. We went over to visit with them, had lunch with them, got some pictures. There's our friend Wade, who was in our member vault.
That's right.
So again, if you there's Nelika. So if you recognize yourself in any of these images and you would like them, just take a look at the description box, and I'll include some of those links in there so you can get to them. So these are just various folks. Cynthia, of course, was there at all the events. We have the benefit from where we are. We're an hour away at the most from where all these events were taking place. That's I forgot her screen. That's Mary Wygant. I can't remember something girl, Boomer Girl, on the forums. David Rice, Cynthia, let me see who else. There's Katia again. I didn't know this young man. He was the son of one of the searchers that did.
Well, he was with Mary, so is he her son?
Oh, no, I don't think so.
Oh.
See, no more Toby pictures. Oh, with the shelter. So this was the guy from Canada, and it was interesting because he asked a really intrusive, I guess, question, and that's when Shiloh came into play, and Shiloh started running defense for Forrest at these questions. So this was before the event got started, and Forrest was just standing around chatting with all the searchers that were there. The crowd really got big at this event. Dorothy was actually in a panic, like, this is too many people. We can't have this. The fire marshal is coming. The smiley guy, I think, is Covert 1. I don't actually know his real name. So there's Nelika in the background, Forrest in his purple sweater, people taking pictures. So you've heard, so I didn't get the front of her at some point, but this is Lou Bruno, the guy that helps him produce all his books, and this is Susan, her hair, with the red hair. Those are the people that help him produce his books that he's always talking about. There's Fenn and Lou. And again, you can recognize this as a collected work. So Fenn was just getting ready to go up, and Dorothy was trying to get things organized. They were having to add chairs because, of course, there was an overflow crowd, and she wasn't quite in panic mode, but she was going to get there. Everybody wanted a chance at pictures right here. This was a good place to get pictures with him. David Rice and Shelley. And then people started going up and talking with Fenn, Cynthia. This is Sasha from, I think they're American treasure hunters now. David, Sasha, Cynthia. I got that shot from the back from where I was at because this was another one of those events we were live streaming, and I was way at the back of the room, but we had a telephoto lens that gave us things. So that's the size of the crowd. It went all the way back, and then there was crowd right in front of me. You'll see in just a minute right here. This baby girl was so cute because this was a loud place, and she decided, nope, I'm going to sleep. Cynthia, looking her happy self. So you can see there was the crowd that went back this way, and there was another line of people doing this way. Shelley was right in front of me where the camera was. Oh, and there were some folks, these big monster cameras were the folks from Nightline that were there to get some footage. So it was a Q&A session, and Shiloh kept real tight. They wanted to talk about the book. Fenn answered questions about the book, and if there was any question that wasn't, Shiloh would take it and put it down real quick. He did a really good job of protecting his granddad that day. So this was the group that was in front of me, in front of where I was standing by the camera. So by that time, we had worked ourselves well into 2017. That was November 2nd, 2017. And then there was the Fenbori of 2018. I didn't get a lot of pictures that time. And that was the Fenbori that was smoked out. We had fires in northern New Mexico. And they wouldn't let us have it the forests were closed, including our little forest up there above Santa Fe, Hyde Park. So this is Connie Wilmoth. I met while I was there. We were just taking pictures. So we did a potluck dinner at the Hyatt Motor Hotel in Santa Fe. So that was the night before the other event. And this was this cutest little girl, Chloe, and she still watches our program. We'll hear from her.
Her grandma Vicky, right?
Right, Vicky. What was Vicky? And Vicky was in our member vault, right? Yeah. And so Chloe would ask about us. I took a couple of pictures of her as well. This was the Frito pie bar. You made your own Frito pie, and it was great with the green chili on top. So I didn't take a lot of pictures the next day, but this is the gentleman that sees Shiloh standing right there, and he's keeping an eye on this guy. And this gentleman was being very assertive. He wanted certain information, and as a matter of fact, towards the end of the event, he was following Forrest outside the door and saying, "Why don't I just meet you at home? I'll just go to your house." And Shiloh was going, "No, that isn't going to happen, brother."
Well, Mary's in the room.
Oh, Mary, yeah, great.
Toby taught us about Frito pie.
So again, Connie. And then I don't know if you remember him, but I think this is the gentleman that started digging up near Heron Lake and got busted. Scott. And at some point he was telling this story to Forrest and showing him pictures, and Forrest said something like, and you can see it in the video because I was making video at the same time, and Forrest says something like, "No, you shouldn't be digging.
You're not supposed to dig where you're not supposed to dig."
Right, you're not supposed to dig where you're not supposed to dig. So there's Mary again with Forrest. And Shiloh in the background. And see, no pictures
Forrest
with Toby.
is signing my book.
Signing her book, taking her picture. No, oh, wait, there's one with the toaster. So, and I think I said that, I kind of hustled him into it. I said, "Forrest, we need to take a picture because if I don't get a picture with you, people are going to think you don't like me." And he said, "I don't." It was really good. Perfect time. It was a good one. And I'm not sure to this day if he was serious or not. So then this was the Jamie Jordan event. And Copper Dan and my son Jason both donated some of their work. Copper Dan with his tin work, Jason with
Other way
his,
around.
I'm sorry, Copper Dan with his
Copper
copper
work.
work, and Jason with his tin work. So I got a picture of them together. Jason was actually there. Shelley didn't go to this event. So Jason was my production assistant. There's the happy couple and the king and queen of this event. Because if it wasn't for these two, this event would have never taken place. So, and I think this is actually like the day after they had first met, and they were all already getting pretty chummy. You can tell it was going on. And then it was just that's me in the background being angry at
Serious.
something.
I'm Toby Younis, and I'm very serious.
I'm very serious. And just keeping on check because I was just trying to make sure people weren't, he's such an easygoing guy for these things that people were really taking advantage, taking too much time. So I'd wait a little while, then I'd come around the side and push him. It's Copper Dan. You can see the rig was getting even progressively smaller. By now, I wasn't even using cameras. I was just using cell phones at this point. That's Pam, Ramblin' Pam.
Oh, yeah.
And I think her husband's in here in some place. There's Mike
Cowling.
threatening Forrest to sign his book if he didn't. Let me see. I don't know. Oh,
To
that was
Ed.
Ed. I don't know who that is. He was signing posters. That was the Eric Sloan
poster.
poster. That's Bob. That's Pam's husband, Ramblin' Pam's husband. You'll see him in their videos. They visited with Forrest. They had the opportunity to go to the house afterwards. There's DeCall was there that day. And Forrest admiring Copper Dan's work. I don't know who this couple was. This guy, I think that's the Ed that we saw earlier. And there's Jamie and her husband, Bill.
I think that's Bill.
Yeah, Bill. Hey, I got a picture
All
with
the
Forrest because
boys.
Shelley wasn't there. So me, Forrest, Shiloh, and my son Jason with his Triumph t-shirt. He's not wearing a BSA t-shirt. So that's the event. Wow, haircut. Remember in the old days where you could still get haircuts? Dang nabbit. Connie in the
I
background.
could get the clippers and just...
Yeah.
That is pretty sure I could do it like that.
Well, that's a number 3.
I could do that.
That's what they call a number 3. I don't know if you guys remember the story of Leroy,
Comic?
I don't remember he was a comic character, but he got kidnapped. There's a long story there. And that was, like I said, the main crew. Christy, Mika was there to draw. They were selecting people because there were so many giveaways. Forrest, Mike was handling the computer, and Cynthia was handling the paperwork. So it was just a very well, as you all should know by now, Christy is just great at organizing these things and making sure they work and that they're legal and, she did a great job with this.
And Cynthia always just like there doing everything
Right.
without, without complaint.
You don't have to ask her; she just does.
Yeah.
And asks you. She kind of, how can I help? Kind of person.
Yep.
So the total raised. I don't know if you'll see the thing there. It was $58,994 out of this event, and that went to Jamie and Bill, and they were able. I don't know how much you guys know about the story, but their house burned in the 2018 versions of the California fires, and I have pictures that she sent to me. I didn't want to put them up to today. Yeah. And then there was Nelica. Nelica purchased or won, maybe it was purchased, one of the originals. Sketches, illustrations from the book. So she collects everything Fenn. Her house is probably filled with it. Fenn made a couple of remarks. Forrest made a couple of remarks at the end. You can see he's wearing his infamous belt buckle. And the best thing that happened to me that day is as he was leaving, and it's on the recording, he walked up to me and he said, "We couldn't have done this without you." And he thanked me for the effort. So I was very happy with that. So this is the story. I don't know if you knew, Shelley and I had hidden one of the Searcher coins in a old skull, an animal skull, up at the Rio de los Pinos, and we had told people, kind of given them an area to search in, and this guy and his wife found it. And after the event was over, I turned around and he was holding up the skull like that for me. And, oh, you can't see any of this. Go back here for a second. I'm in studio mode. So he was holding up the skull like that, and I recognized it, and I invited him over, and he was telling me the story. He had scared the dickens out of his wife because that road down to the canyon, it's okay if you're driving a Nissan Frontier. He was in an Ford F-150 crew cab, 4-wheel drive. It's her 6-wheel, and just scaring the heck out of his wife. She thought she was going to die. So
it's a little scary the first time, but after that, you're like, oh, that was not a big deal.
We did that again. Yeah, we've done a lot of those in all our travels. And then, so that was the last event that we were involved with Forrest was Fenbori 2019. And this is when I tried to get in the shot, and Forrest kept elbowing me. Like, get out of this shot. So he literally came, he heard Shelley was there, and he said, I want to get my picture with Shelley, and literally came across the thing. I'm not actually that fat. The camera adds about 45 pounds or so. All right. So those are...
Is that the last of the Fenbori pictures? Or there's just the one?
There was just the one.
Oh.
I don't know what we didn't do. I talked to Kevin today, and I said, did you take any pictures at the
I know
event?
there's more of those, but that's okay.
Yeah.
They're all pretty much the same.
He said, I have about a dozen. And I said, send them to me. I need them. And it was all the same picture. But it was the iPhone version of the picture where it does the little multiple motion things.
Yeah, that's right.
Anyway, we wanted to share those with you tonight. That was our only objective, to share Forrest with you all in the way that we shared our time with him at all these events. And he was nothing, he was never less than stellar and open and friendly and smiling. It was just amazing at each one of these events. And I was going to make a collection. I was going to pull something together. I decided not to do it in the end, of the number of photos that how he looked in 2013 versus how he looked in 2019, because you could see the change, the difference in him. But what never changed...
You could see it in all of us, too.
Yeah. What never changed was his persona, the ForrestFenn, the author ForrestFenn, the fighter pilot ForrestFenn, the business owner, the gallery owner. He was just sharp as a tack and warm and friendly and social and all the things that made him successful in his life. And it was great to see him in that way. So before we go, did you want to say something?
Well, how about if I do read this, and while I'm doing that, you go through the messages, because there might be some that you want to read before we go.
Okay. So we're not going to play the video, but this is Shelley's
Life's
Treasures for today.
And Mojo Man Mike wants to know, what was your favorite moment with Forrest? So why don't you think about that while I'm reading this. Tonight's entry is called The Final Transition. The 5 stages of grief, denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance, are a part of the framework that makes up our learning to live with loss. They are tools to help us identify and process what we may be feeling. When we hear about the death of somebody we knew and cared about, it is human and natural that we first consider, how does this affect me? Then we think about the people in our lives and how the news will affect them. At that point, we consider our own mortality, and we compare our lives to the one who has passed on. The first thing I felt when I heard about ForrestFenn's death was surprise. Although he just celebrated his 90th birthday, it seemed he would live for many more years. The announcement made me feel sad, but because he had lived a long, full life, I wasn't in denial or angry. Possibly we all grieved a personal loss in June with the news that the treasure was found, so this news wasn't as devastating as it could have been. I believe the spiritual soul of each person lives on in an unseen dimension after the death of the body, so I can more easily accept Forrest's passing as a natural part of human life. I thought about his family and their sorrow at losing their father and grandfather. Then I thought about this community and how I might offer some comfort during this time of yet another step in this challenging transition. As with any other transition, we can move through it more quickly and comfortably if we can let go of the past and accept what is. I believe the farewell event in Yellowstone this past weekend offered a tangible way to celebrate and let go of the past regarding the thrill of the chase treasure hunt and our ties to ForrestFenn. Whether we were present or just took note of the videos and photos from the fishing bridge get-together, it helped us to say goodbye to what was and look ahead to the future. Although it is the end of an era of searching for the ForrestFenn treasure and studying his life, we can accept that his story is now complete, and we can allow ourselves to be open to the next story that captures our imaginations. Toby and I have been privileged to spend the last 3 years with you enjoying the thrill of the chase, and we salute the man who inspired us to get out into the woods and look for treasures. Whether those treasures were friendship, adventure, fun memories, or hope, we all were made better for finding them. We thank ForrestFenn for starting us off on this journey, and with gratitude, we hold out our hand to receive the torch he lit with imagination and adventure and carry it forward.
As usual, beautiful.
Thank you. Did you have something you needed?
It was a gentleman sent us a poem that he wanted us to read,
okay.
and I have one here from Shelley as well. So what?
All right. This is from Jim in Ohio. An adventure gone but not forgotten. An ode to ForrestFenn. As Forrest spun his treasure tale, many traveled, scouring every dale. The treasures we all sought, Fenn assured us, could not be bought. Friendships were made and some were lost. Some decided they had to win at all costs. When a few searchers failed to return, detractors asked for the search to adjourn. As years went by, some called it a hoax. To searchers, Fenn would patiently coax. Found, it was announced, one day in June, and searchers sang such a melancholy tune. How can the adventure go on, some may say, because the fire Forrest lit in us is here to stay. While many felt the treasure was just around the bend, the treasure we found was the adventure in the end.
It was very nicely written. So Sherry did the same thing. She put it on here. Can you read it from there?
Sure. And this is from Sherry in Pennsylvania. Our time on earth is precious, so I'll keep this short and sweet. I've wandered by some mountains and I've wandered by some creeks. I've wondered if they are the ones you wandered by alone, but truth be told, it matters not, for they are now my own. So long gone and so detached, I'd forgotten they were there, until someone reminded me to go and stop and stare. And up upon a ledge one day my soul took wings of flight. My breath was faint, my heart was healed at such a wondrous sight. I can't describe the lifting up, the freeness from my dearth. When I was born again that day, renew my Mother Earth.
It's beautiful, Sherry. So, we don't want to prolong this any more than we have already. I'm confident that we can say that we feel like you. But we needed this for ourselves to get through our grieving process, especially since it's very likely there won't be any public services. This is our way of doing it, and we're glad that you could join us. We've got an outro for you that we'd like you to stay and watch. Do you have some questions?
Well, just this one question. What was your favorite moment with Forrest? And I think the most fun for me was last year at Fenbori when, we were just kind of staying back. Had gotten there late. It had been raining, and we'd gotten there late. And we just kind of stayed back. And we were doing interviews with some of the media people there who were asking us for interviews, and didn't really intrude on Forrest because he was busy with all, his talking with all the searchers and being the star of the party, of course. And then I heard him say, I got to get over there and get a picture with Shelley. And I was just like, oh, okay. So that was really cool to me that he saw me from across the Ramada, all the way over there. And he's like, I need to go over there and say hi. He didn't call me over to him. He came over to me. And so I thought that was really pretty cool. So,
yeah. Well, what was even neater was the fact that two of us, as he came across the shelter, there was a 3-foot drop at the side where you were standing, and he was about to jump it. Like, here, I got this, and like, no,
yeah.
I grabbed
and there
one
was
shoulder.
about 4 men who jumped in there to grab him and help him get down off that.
So my favorite was the event at. Although I have a lot of, first time we sat down together and talked at Moby Dickens, but my favorite was the Bronze Jar event, because not only did I get to talk with him, not only could I do him the favor of live streaming, he bought the $500 box to do it. I got to meet Ali MacGraw, engage with Ali MacGraw, and that was just him at his finest, and he was very proud of what was in that bronze jar, and that he was able to earn that $30,000 on behalf of Raynell. And I think he was saddened, of course, when she eventually lost her battle with cancer, but I could see in him how much he cared and how much effort he put into that, and then realizing that that necklace that he gave to Ali MacGraw, he made with his own hands. He, as you get older, it's much harder to start stringing things together to make that, and it was just beautifully done. He had such an eclecticness, an artistic eclecticness is the best way to describe it. I know that doesn't make sense sometimes, but he had all of that with him. So, thank you for joining us tonight. You may not realize it, but it helps us. If you get a chance and you see Jens around, please thank him for that beautiful piece of work that he did. I know he's going to put it up on his Vimeo channel. When he does, I'll share that link with you. So if you guys want to see that, you'll be able to see it again, because as usual, like all the work that Jens does, it's just beautiful, just outstanding work, which makes him such a great documentary maker. And I wanted to have our outro represent kind of how we're feeling about this. So I hope
Toby
you enjoy.
will be back on Saturday.
That's right. Yeah, we'll be back. I'll be back for the show on Saturday. We'll talk about some other things. And then we'll be back next Wednesday with a regular show with giveaways and things like that. But as I said, I felt like we needed to do this for ourselves. And hopefully...
we appreciate all of you being here with us in support and in support of each other as well. And this is a difficult time for many people. So it's really great that you can all be here together, and it just helps us to get that closure that we all need.
All right. Good night. We love you.
Good night.
So live, that when thy summons comes to join the innumerable caravan which moves to that mysterious realm, where each shall take his chamber in the silent halls of death, thou go not like a quarry slave at night, scourged to his dungeon, but sustained and soothed by an unfaltering trust. Approach thy grave, like one who wraps the drapery of his couch about him and lies down to pleasant dreams. Goodbye, my friend. Safe travels.